life depends on the network you choose. Your movies, music, and games can only be as good as your network speed and strength. Slow means
game over.
But the Philippines' fastest mobile data network means
game changing.
Choose the network that gives you what you truly enjoy. How do you know about this Giga Life?
Simple eh? Smart ako.
And we are live. Thank you very much, mga ka-Pinoyliga, and welcome to another week of Bull by the Horn, episode 6. Back-to-back episodes po tayo ngayon of Bull by the Horn because nag-back-to-back po si Usapang PSL. So we had to balance everything and make sure that, we try to give you your weekly dose of Bull by the Horn. So it turns out, um, very, very nice back-to-back po tayo ngayon because we timed ourselves with the opening of the biggest basketball league in all of the world. My name is Benny Benitez. Magandang gabi po. I am your Pinoyliga founder. I am also your Bull by the Horn host. And tonight, sabi ko nga po, medyo magiging masaya-masaya tayo dahil ako personally, I really have to talk about this league, the NBA. It cannot be na hindi pag-usapan yan. And it's a good thing that, we have a very strong partnership with Smart Communication and PLDT because they are the guys who's bringing to us over digital ang NBA. For us to have a better understanding po ng ating episode tonight, guys, please watch this.
The world has changed a lot these past few months. And we could all use some of this right now. Oh, and definitely more of that. Well, it's all back. With a slight twist. It's the game you love, like we've never seen before. 22 teams, all in one place, with the whole world watching. It's a whole new game, and we're glad it's back.
Guys, you've seen it, you felt it, you know it already. NBA is back. Kaya yun po ang pag-uusapan natin. And there is one person that we invited over at our stream na, shall I say, is one of the guys that, you can depend on when it comes to NBA content, NBA material, anything NBA talk. We have Jinno Rufino, who's gonna be with us today or tonight, and I'm very, very happy that kasama natin one of the best guys when we talk about NBA. We also have Mr. Jude Turcuato coming back para at least kumbaga makapagbigay rin siya ng kanyang insights about the NBA. So we were supposed to have si Enzo Flojo as part of our stream, but unfortunately, he had to beg off because of some family emergency. And we wish Enzo's family well, and sana po whatever emergency he has, it's not so bad. So without further ado, guys, let me try and welcome ang ating special guest and ang ating NBA guy, our specialist for the NBA, Mr. Jinno Rufino. Hi, Gino.
Hey Benny, good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problema. True, 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 true. Welcome, welcome. Yeah,
Thanks for having me. I don't know about
jeans. Yeah.
expert, ha? Siguro pero fan. Let's just call it that. NBA fanatic.
True, 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 true. Actually, sabi ko nga before when I had I had my moment of choice on who will be our next guy here, when it was NBA, pare, you were knee jerk reaction already. Sabi ko this has to be Gino Rufino. Let me just take my at nadidistract ako dun sa aking ring light na aking binili.
But
So,
you know, it's funny you say that kasi before, especially yung days ko sa BTV,
yeah.
yung pangalan ko sa in the provinces, it wasn't Gino, it wasn't anything. Yung pangalan ko NBA. Minsan BTV, minsan NBA.
Okay.
They didn't know
Okay.
my name. They didn't know what my name was. Pero when they saw me, they said, "Oy, si BTV. Oh, si NBA." But
Exactly, I think
fun,
it's
fun enough.
you're very much synonymous already to the NBA, and you're I think you're in the best position to really be discussing this with us, And tonight, Jeans, we will also have si Jude, who's
Yeah,
gonna
of
be
course.
chiming in at around the 8:30 8:45 range, So it's gonna be the two of us for now to really be talking NBA. So siguro before anything, Jeans, let me just try to ask you, what have you been up to? Pandemic, quarantine.
Wow.
What's up?
You're looking at it. This is it. I sit in, I sit in front of my computer. I talk to Jude sometimes. I talk to my family. I talk to my friends. And then for the longest time that was happening. And then syempre walang sports on TV. There was nothing else going on. So I had to learn new skills. I had to learn how to cook. So that was a little new. I haven't cooked since I was living in the States. And I had to do certain things that I didn't really do too much before. I had to learn things like I started meditating. I started doing things that parang I never did before, and I just thought that
Right,
it would be beneficial for me, especially during these times. So I worked on my inner self, so to speak,
right, right.
para to be a little bit more well rounded. And then yung nag GCQ na.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and because I also work for a motorcycle website,
All right.
and so we needed to we were so backed up with content that we were doing for that. So we were able to get a couple of bikes reviewed
Okay.
in
All right.
the past 2 weeks.
All right. It's funny that you talked about being in touch with yourself and being better. Because it's exactly what I'm trying to do with myself.
Mm.
I have at least around 10 books that sabi
Yeah,
ko babasahin ko yan in a year's time. You know what, brother? I
but
finished them in 5 months. So, kumbaga, I think there's a lot of that kind of
yeah,
mentality that's happening with everyone. I think you try to be very productive as much as you can, within the limited space that you have. So
hmm,
you go inside yourself,
yeah,
and try to discover whatever it is.
yeah.
So
Kasi that space is no limitless. Eh. So
exactly.
that's where the best place is to go sometimes.
Exactly, and I think going to our topic now. I
Mm.
think there's now that kind of transition that you have. So at least a big chunk of who you are is now back. So how is that with you, brother? So tell me
um,
about it, huh?
Bro, when there was news pa lang, it wasn't even confirmed. When there was discussions about whether it was going to be in Vegas, whether the bubble was going to be in Orlando, I was so excited, and it wasn't even confirmed. Like I was, it was almost like a kid anticipating Christmas. And when they finally confirmed that it was going to be in Orlando, I was a little bit worried because the numbers of the virus kept on rising and rising in
Agree.
Florida. So medyo I was like, shucks, is this gonna be, are they gonna be able to pull this off? I mean, what if they decide to not do it? I mean, let's
Right.
face it, there's more important things in the world right now. That's the truth. But
Agree.
sometimes we need certain things just to feel some sort of normalcy again. And the NBA coming back is so perfect for it. I mean, we saw syempre, the UFC started, the F1
Right.
started, and then
Right.
the football leagues in Europe started and some and finished. So parang all these things started. So it gave me a little hope that the NBA was going to be able to pull it off. But
Yeah.
the product of the NBA the past 2 days, grabe, napaka-high. Galing. I mean, it's almost as if you don't need the fans in the stadium. Almost as if you don't
Agree.
need it.
Agree.
Because
Agree. Agree.
it looks fantastic. And the game itself, aside from the presentation of the NBA, but the game itself is phenomenal. How many games have gone down the wire? Nag-overtime pa nga. How many games na? Tatlo? Like
Right. Right. Right.
it's been so fun, and we're in day number 2.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I'm just really happy, and I'm sure the millions of Filipino fans out there who have been waiting for the NBA to come back, and now it's also available on TV. Finally, it's back on TV. I'm sure everybody is as excited as I am.
You know what, brother? Let me just jump on in dun sa ating first topic of discussion when it comes to the NBA, Kasi, let's talk about the bubble, The one thing that really I'd like to talk about the bubble, is this a stroke of genius, or is it one of the riskiest moves for Adam Silver?
It's
Tell me
both.
about it, brother.
It's really both. I mean, it was Adam Silver plus, of course, the board of governors or the owners, if you will, plus the players association. So it is all these people together, the partnership with ESPN, sorry, Disney, who owns ESPN, and everybody coming together trying to figure something out. And I mean, you look at it right now. Major League Baseball is having a hard time because a lot of the teams have either positive players or multiple players on a team. So the solution, what they thought of, was really put as many teams as you can with as safe as possible. Not about all of the teams in the NBA, but as safe as possible to bring them in one location, block them out from the outside world as much as possible, take the risks out as much as possible.
Right.
And so far they've done it. They've had 4, 5, 6 days now of zero positive cases.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
it's really, you gotta give it to the NBA for thinking outside of the box and inside the bubble, so to speak. Na parang it was such a big project,
Right.
and they're right. I mean, obviously it's only the second day, but all things, the way it looks, it looks like it's gonna hold. It looks like it's gonna be able to go through the whole 3 months or so of the bubble.
Right. To me, I'm still in the middle of this. To
Yeah.
always there's always gonna be that kind of mentality where you always side in the caution, on the
Mhm.
caution side of everything, and you try to think, what if this happens to the biggest superstars? And
Yeah.
there's always that fear,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, I think one of the biggest sporting brands has already said this, sports should be back. They have this campaign that tells us about sports being relevant, that
Yeah.
we could not stop sports. But I think that's holding through right now, and
Mhm.
to a fan like you and me, um, it's really something significant. It's a step towards the right direction,
Yeah.
in terms of really making a stride towards normalcy, even though we see so much uncertainty. So I'm in the middle, but I think you are really really excited on this, so I
Di ba,
think
medyo
uh,
obvious, no?
yeah, medyo hindi pa naman, pero I think you're really excited on this aspect, and then just to talk about that as well. I think you mentioned about this big investment that NBA had. This is really a big investment in terms of money, because this is a 170 million dollar
Yeah.
uh, campaign to really put the resumption of the NBA inside. So what can you say about that? And is that a
Well,
good business decision for the NBA?
it was the only business decision of the NBA. If they didn't do this, they would have lost even more money because you have to. They're already not earning money from the ticket sales, from
Agree.
the whatever you earn in the arenas in live sports, and you take that out. you only have the TV deal left and the merchandise, and then let's not forget they lost a big chunk of the TV deal after what happened in China, even before the season started.
True.
So
True.
if you think about all of these things, they had to try it. They had to try to try and finish the season, crown a champion, get some TV money in there. Otherwise, next season would have been in jeopardy, and
Agree.
maybe even succeeding seasons would be in jeopardy. Right now, they're going to have to adjust the salaries of some of the players, because the collective bargaining is going to be an issue with the as because they're not earning as much money. Like the NBA is a league that shares revenue with not just the teams and the owners, but they also share it with the players. Right, the players earn a certain percentage of what the NBA makes. So the less the NBA makes, the less the players make. So it's they had to do it in order for the league to survive in the way that we know it. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened, and if they're gonna wait for the pandemic to die down, because that was the other option. In the beginning, they were Adam Silver and some of the NBA owners. They were just thinking about waiting for their government to come up with a solution and let them know if it's when they can restart the season. When they
Right.
figured out that it was going to be a little bit difficult for that to happen, especially because the cases in the States keep on rising, they had no choice. They had to try to do it themselves. That's why
Right.
pati yung mga tests, the test kits that they have, that's not from the government. That's a private company that they get that from. So just they're keeping everybody in the bubble as safe as possible without limiting the whatever the public in Florida and other places around the states are able to get from what's needed in order to try and beat this pandemic.
Even with all of the risks involved, Gina, do you think this will fly? Because some of the concerns that other people might have is because James Harden got one. Brody had COVID-19.
Yeah,
Some other players, not so big names, but they had it. It just so happened that brother, they're athletes. I think their
yeah.
immune systems are off the charts.
They're
So they're made of
best athletes
something
in the
else.
world. Oh.
So I think it's not an apple to apple comparison when you
It's
say
not.
that Brody would be different. Iba yung motor nung tao. He's
Oh,
one of the
oh.
most athletic guys ever. So, 'di ba? Even with all of those risks, do you think this
Well,
is
the players that were tested positive were all tested before they entered the bubble.
right?
So the players inside the bubble, especially the last week or so, no one tested positive. So
Right.
they're taking all the necessary precautions, as hard as tough as they seem. They need to do it in order to keep this thing going. You can see it diba, sa mga social media ng mga players, the stuff that they go through. They get tested every day. Parang some of the yung mga YouTube videos ni Batiste Tybal, they show him like sitting down with the health workers taking the swab up his
The
nose.
swabs. Exactly.
So they really go through all the necessary things. That's why even though Lou Williams was allowed to leave, and when he went to get chicken wings in a
Right.
place that he didn't
He shouldn't be.
even though even though even though the wings there were supposed to be the best wings in Florida.
I
Parang,
think he wasn't there for the wings, bro.
parang, like, why, like that's why they put him in as a longer quarantine period, diba? So
Right,
there's
right.
stuff like that. So parang like he was supposed to go to a funeral, and he went to the funeral. He was excused. Yun nga lang, nag-sidetrack siya ng konti. He went to get chicken wings in a different in a place that's not known as a restaurant but has the best wings.
Dapat pala pumunta siya Houston kasi meron na doon para drive-thru, 'di ba, na
Oh,
ganyan. So I think he's in the wrong place, man. He wasn't really there for the wings, ah. So
yeah.
yeah, I think with all of that, I think these are the type of risks that the NBA
It's
has calibrated and
yeah,
has
yeah.
I think they're the ones who's moving the needle for sports at this point. So I think any move that they make at this point
Mhm.
would probably be something that they thought of not only once, twice, but a lot
Yeah.
of times before they really put that in place. So let me just show you a video that we got over YouTube. That let's just try to nitpick the current scenario of this bubble that we have, Gina. Tingnan natin, is this really something that's for a fan like you and me, is this something that appeals to us, kasi not so many crowd and everything, feels like a practice game more than anything. Some of the people tells me that, but let's just try to see this. Ah,
Is this
this is the
kanina?
yeah, this is the Kings video. This is the highlights of the Kings and the Mavericks. Let me just try and okay here. So let's try to see this.
Mavs Rockets.
Mavs Rockets.
Oh,
Diba?
kanina to,
So
diba?
yep, yeah. So how do you feel now of this game? I think there's a lot that has been said about it being having a practice game feel. No, para bang, do you
Hmm.
still feel that, or as a fan,
I,
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter for me. As in, I guess I'm that much of a basketball fanatic na parang I would watch practices. Like if one of the things that in all honesty, like yung mga All-Star game, yung mga finals. Well, maybe not the finals, but yung mga All-Star game, I enjoyed watching the practices more than the game itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Be-
Okay. True.
because it's there. You could see more, even though they're not taking it seriously. But the game, kasi, well, especially minus this year and the last year, because
Right.
they weren't taking it seriously. So I would watch anything na basketball. I
Okay.
guess I'm medyo easy to please na
You
pag
consume
ganyan.
a lot because
Yeah,
you're okay.
so para sa
I
akin,
got you.
this game is perfect as is. As in, even the angles of the camera, the way the announcers are speaking, it works. It works so well. Pati yung mga crowd, the faces in the back, I
Hmm.
find it hilarious. I find it hilarious, but I think it does
Okay.
kind of work. Para,
Okay.
like when was it? Or yesterday you saw Chris Bosh. Para,
Yeah. Okay.
it's just funny. That's a little quirky, that whole thing there yung sa back, yung sa
Right.
likod, the mga fans. And then
Right.
the fake crowd noise
Yes.
is kind of funny ng konti.
It's
But
iffy.
I
I got you.
still love the action. I still love it. I mentioned this in another program. No, if you talk to any of the Dream Team members and you
Mhm.
ask them what basketball game they enjoyed the most, or that they remember the most, they
Right.
actually will talk about that scrimmage in Monte Carlo
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
with no crowd. Diba? There was nobody there, but that was the most competitive basketball that they played in.
Was it the Magic versus
Magic,
Jordan game?
yeah, Magic
Yeah.
Jordan
Yeah.
yun. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have the parang the 10, 12 best players, maybe 11 best players
Right.
in the world
Right.
playing 5-on-5, and it was, if you ask them about that game, that's the one that they really think about, that's the most competitive basketball that they've played. I mean, Jordan talks about it during the Last Dance. So
True.
it's really it. If you're a basketball player, especially this level, it doesn't matter if there's fans or not. They're going to play as hard as they can, and they're going to try and win the championship. And I think we're seeing that in the first 2 days. First 2 days pa lang, and we're already seeing this. That's why, there's several games that went to overtime already, because they're really taking it seriously, and the results are showing. And because of that, the action has been fantastic. So the fans, sure, it does add to the whole atmosphere of the game.
Right.
It does tend to pump up players. Like people feed off the crowd sometimes.
True.
But ultimately, somebody who's super competitive, like all of these guys are, I don't think it really makes that big a difference.
True. To me, what's compelling now with the bubble is that the NBA went full on digital.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
that to me is it's really a representation of the world we live in. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really the transition from the traditional broadcast or to from the traditional way of really
Sure.
presenting the game. And
Yeah.
actually, it's not just presenting the game, but presenting an experience already.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see, the thing with what's happening now, I think that technology plays a big role, a big chunk in the experience. Is that they also got Microsoft Teams.
Mm-hmm.
They incorporated the fan integration into that actual stream, and also the way the camera angles work right now. Pare, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if it was 10 years ago when the new technologies weren't in the play, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to gain this kind of experience. So
Iba yung experience for sure. For sure yan.
yeah, even if you although the nuances of the new normal for their games that I see Doris Burke and his co-commentator, they have an acrylic wall,
Mm.
to really set them apart from each other for safety reasons. But these are the type of nuances that happens because of COVID, and because of the current situation. I see there's a lot of physical distancing that's happening there, but the whole the whole truth in what I'm gathering right now with the bubble is that, because I'm a technology guy,
Mhm.
the integration of technology with the telecast, with the whole experience, that's so amazing to me now. Like with this, with what we're seeing now. Have you seen the angles, pare? Dun
Yeah.
sa baba, di ba? I think you
Yung
cannot
that
see that, di ba?
tracking shot sa
Yeah.
sa floor
Oo.
level. Ang ganda nun,
Di
sobrang
ba? Ang
ganda nun.
ganda. Because you
Do
can't
you,
get that with the
yeah,
crowd, eh. Di
yeah,
ba?
they had that before pag NBA
Mm,
finals. Pero yung nasa taas, yung
correct.
tracking shot sa taas. But this
Correct.
one, the floor level na tracking shot, napakaganda. I mean,
'Di ba?
you know what this looks like to me? It
Ah,
actually kind of has the feel of NBA 2K.
true.
Parang
True.
the way you watch it now, parang even the court looks like it's NBA 2K. Yung mga not home court ng teams, 'di ba? Yung mga practice courts or yung my player mode. And that's in itself kind of part of what you're talking about of the whole digitizing the technology of the world right now that the NBA has in their hands, and they're trying to
True.
put whatever they can sa experience sa mga for the fans. And they right now it's really been working so well. And at least if you ask me. But again, I am easy to please when it comes to the NBA. I can watch classic games for for like a year
Yeah.
nonstop.
Pare, 'di
But
ba? We were in the same boat, to me now, what's apparent is that, I think it's a great, I think I mentioned this to you earlier that they're moving the needle for sports, and I
yeah,
think
yeah, absolutely.
it's a very nice test environment for sports to replicate,
Mhm.
if on the assumption, bro, that we don't have any vaccine by the end of the year, or maybe by mid year of next.
Mm.
I think this is a very nice
Yeah,
you know template, if you may,
yeah.
na mapakita natin. Although I've seen, I mentioned about the type of nuances that they have now there, pare, they even have pala, just for, let's talk about the safety aspect naman of this, I think the NBA has put in a lot of investment in terms of really making this the safest bubble that they could
Yeah.
ever make. So I think, natawa lang ako when I researched about this. There's this snitch hotline pala that they put in place, So ibig sabihin, I think, it's one way that the NBA would like to police what's happening with them, can you tell me about it, brother?
Well, they wanted to call it something else. But they didn't want to call it snitch hotline, but it is the snitch hotline because if you see somebody who's not wearing a mask walking around, who's doesn't have the bracelet, who doesn't, or basically breaking some sort of protocols. I think even Dwight Howard at one point didn't wear a mask and he got in trouble for it. So it's something that they're putting on the players and other people around in the bubble to report things that they see. Now, what's funny here is, can you imagine pag playoffs na, and if you're, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're J.R. Smith, and then you're gonna report, hey, I just saw Kawhi Leonard not wearing a mask. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it's just gonna be funny some of the things that can come out of this. But as Stephen A. Smith said, he's not a snitch, but this is one time that he would snitch on people had he see if he sees stuff that's not being followed, because that bubble needs to be foolproof for it to work. If the weakest
True.
link doesn't work, diba? If
True.
there's just one person in there that does something really stupid and it could break that bubble, it's gonna burst it and then tapos, no more. Everything's done. So they need to be strict about it, but at the same time, I guess people shouldn't players and other members of the team should not take advantage naman when it comes to when it comes to pag playoffs na or whatever.
Yeah, ako naman naisip ko rin yun, ano, para bang tama ka eh. I think this bubble takes a lot of political will, and this is the type of situation where players need to understand that, we really need to take care of each other, and
Yeah,
if I screw up, then this will stop.
yeah,
And if I screw up, if my team has the biggest chance of winning all of this, then
hmm,
everything will stop. Like, I
yeah,
think if you get to have some sort of symptoms and they check you out, and if it's a game that you need to play the following day and you check out with some sort of symptoms, you're out. Can you
hmm,
imagine that happening to, let's say, a Clippers who's
yeah,
competing?
yeah,
Can you, a Bucks, and if it happens to the Greek Freak? So
yeah. I mean,
you see the point, brother, diba? So
it's
yeah, go ahead.
no. I was about to say this is really a tricky situation to be in for everybody involved. And kaya nga, when people talk about asterisks to this season, whoever wins the championship, para sa akin nga, whoever wins this deserves a badge of honor. It's not even a asterisk because this is uncharted territory. We don't know. We may as well be playing against the Monstars because it does. We don't know what to expect. And we're just hoping for the best. Diba? And to be able to hope for the best, we have to do, well, everybody in there has to do their part in order for this thing to work. Otherwise, it could all come crumbling down on everybody. So it's yeah, asterisks. Who said that? It was Phil Jackson who said that about the Spurs after the shortened season in
Championship.
97, 98, 98, 97.
99. I think it's 99 with the
99,
Spurs.
99, yeah, 99.
99 with the Spurs. So yeah, are you talking about an asterisk? To
Yeah.
me, true. I never saw that badge of honor angle. To be honest, oo nga, now that you mentioned it, I think that's true. Kasi you're carrying a different dimension, but not a different load, not just physically, but the mental aspect of really
Yeah.
playing inside the bubble, playing with sort of uncertainty if this person that I'm facing is a carrier. I think
Mhm.
you have to go to the time of Magic Johnson being diagnosed with AIDS,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
HIV. I think if you were a player during that time, you're really uncertain with what's happening with an HIV victim, then you'd
Mhm.
probably have that same mentality now, na para bang, what's gonna happen to me? Because before, there's a lot of stigma with that, and with COVID, with what's happening now, everyone's in a stigma, with this mentality. No one knows, eh. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
All you can do is just to really really be safe, so yeah, I agree with you now that I saw that angle of wary of this one being a much loaded championship, so kasi kanina parang ako nasa gitna uli ako, eh, parang inisip ko mukhang asterisk din to because it's really, how should I put it, it's not full 82. It's
Mhm.
not the guys
Walang
that you
home
play,
court. Yeah.
walang home court, tapos
Oh,
parang inisip mo pa parang ah, lahat nakapagpahinga. So,
mm.
ibig ko sabihin, ang daming moving pieces that you would have to consider, that you want that champion to be full proof yung championship niya na talagang you earned it, if you're
Yeah.
you're obviously both Laker fans, so kumbaga
Hindi ba? Hindi ba obvious?
we don't have to really, hindi ba obvious? Hindi ba obvious, di ba? So we really have to really consider that, I think, now that it's a redeem season for LeBron, and the Lakers, you really have to para bang put it in a perspective na naku, sayang yung season.
Oh,
Kasi we're top seed, West, eh. And we're gonna compete, eh. 'Di ba? So
yeah.
para bang as a Laker fan, para bang yun yung naglaro sa akin. So para bang in the 16 championships of the Lakers, or if this pulls through, if this is the 17th, is the 17th gonna be really comparable to that 87-88 championship? No, 87-88 championship, the three-peat of the Kobe Shaq days, or the back-to-back of Kobe and Pau. Will it be comparable to that? So now again, there's gonna be that legacy angle
Yeah.
with LeBron once again. That, how are you gonna gauge up against, the Laker Goliaths of back in the days? These types of things. So
Yeah.
what can you say about that, brother?
Well, I mean, the Lakers have to win the championship first before
Yes, yes, true. True.
before even thinking about that. But let's just say they do, and they managed to maybe get by Portland in the first round, which is going to be tougher than people think. Tapos,
Right.
syempre, the Clippers in the Western Finals, or whoever in the second round. Let's just say the Lakers do manage to win it. This might be, honestly, it may not have the most weight, but I think it could be the most memorable for several factors. Number one, of course, the whole bubble situation, playing during the pandemic, and getting the win. LeBron's first in LA, and it's so on and so forth. But I think it's also because this is the year that Kobe died. And to have that kind of being the driving force, the narrative, for the Lakers to continue in their quest for a championship. That right now you don't really hear it too much. You hear LeBron mention it. He showed the yung ring,
Yeah.
yung finger sleeve
Yeah.
24. So,
True.
so you're seeing little bits and pieces about it right now. But if and when they make the finals, that thing's gonna get louder and louder, and it's just gonna be the narrative of the whole season for the Lakers. They're gonna use that narrative, and they should. That they're gonna end up trying to win this, for somebody who represented that franchise for 20 years and is really taking over the face of that franchise, or from Magic Johnson. So it may not have the most weight, but I think it will be the most memorable if they manage to pull it off.
That's a good point, this year, kasi you have to understand the weight of 2020, brother.
Grabe, grabe.
But you cannot imagine how this started. We started when we lost Kobe, tapos nandun yung Australia bushfire, and then it steamrolled to so many things already that, if you look back of what's happening now and we're still in the middle of the year, you just have to really scratch your head. So
Yeah,
now as a
parang
sports fan, di ba?
but I think that's why the NBA and sports is so
Mm,
important right now. I mean,
true.
2020 has been a crappy year for everybody,
Oh yeah.
but we needed something like this. I mean, we saw a little bit of it with the other sports happening. But syempre, sa Pilipinas, we're basketball fanatics, right? I mean, this is what means the most to us, whether we agree with it or not. And the weight of what basketball means here is unlike in any other country. And that's why I think the NBA restarting is a bigger deal in the Philippines than it is maybe in the States right now.
True.
So it's such a it's important for us to see this to see this happening, and this can be a model for some of the local sports leagues, the local basketball leagues, and other and whether it's the PSL, the PBA, the collegiate leagues, the ABL, maybe. So there's so many different things that this model of the NBA can be patterned, can pattern after this model of the NBA.
True, true, true. In all sense, brother. Going back, naging nostalgic na ako nun when you mentioned Kobe. So talaga
Grabe.
medyo, you know, you have to understand that, kasi talaga natabunan lang eh. So talagang sabi ko, para bang, what's happening now with the world is that, even the magnitude of the death of Kobe, natabunan pa. So para
Mm.
bang, as a sports fan, para bang inisip mo, can it be any worse? Diba? And then, yeah, ito, COVID. So, parang,
Oh, oh, exactly. Parang sobrang bigat na yun, ha? When Kobe passed away, sobrang bigat na yun.
diba?
And then, so I was thinking, grabe, ay, hindi ko na kaya, grabe na talaga. And then this
Diba?
happened, and then the whole thing happened. So, kaya nga, when the NBA was just talking pa lang, when there was like just an idea in my head na, uy, baka kaya to, baka they can pull this off. They might actually try it. I was worried, honestly. I was worried that they were gonna choose Vegas. Because if they chose
Okay.
Vegas, napakadaming distractions dun sa Vegas.
True, 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 true.
Grabe. You know when they had the All-Star game in Las Vegas,
Mm.
that city was trashed during that weekend.
And you
And
were there?
no, I wasn't there. That was a year before I believe I joined BTV, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But it was really that that city was trashed after the All-Star weekend. So I was thinking, sana Orlando na lang. And then the spike of the virus happened in Florida. I was like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen? So yeah, man, it's really interesting to see how this has held up and how it's going to hold up. And if they're gonna use something like this maybe next season. Because sabi mo kanina, diba, we don't know when this thing's when there's gonna be a vaccine or when things will return to some sort of normal. But if they do go back to this model next season, what are they gonna do? East and West, dalawang bubble, or are they gonna do per division? Three divisions, three different locations in the West, three different locations in the East. Like there's a lot of things that they have to consider. If they do that, are they going to expand the season to a longer time? So kasi after they play in those in my head, three individual 6 different bubbles, they'll consolidate and then consolidate and consolidate. Parang nagiging group stages sa FIBA.
True.
Parang
true.
it will have that sort of feel. At least that's the way I imagine it in my head. Nobody's told me that. I am just thinking about it.
Pero imagine mo, Jeans, kumbaga ang nangyari nga dyan, I think with COVID, it made the NBA shake up yung kanilang traditional way of thinking. 82 games, 16 teams, East and West. Now they're thinking, diba? Now they're thinking, teka lang, I think there's a whole lot of reimagining that I can do now. I think, the world has given me enough reason to really shake up that traditional way of thinking this through. Because pre-COVID, there were talks about really, shake up, get the 16 best team regardless of conference, put them in a bracket, NCAA style, pang, 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 pang. And to me, that makes sense, to be honest, because you're trying to get, diba, you're trying to get the best teams out there. And it doesn't make sense if Washington, kumbaga, goes through and becomes the 8th seed with a 34 something something record, as opposed to, let's say, a Blazers team who competed for the 8th spot with a Sacktown team that, has improved a lot, and then they went 41-41. And then you para bang because they're in the West, 'di ba? So para bang
Yeah.
ano nangyari, 'di ba? Parang nganganalan sila, parang wow, 'di ba? And to think that, had they been there in the East, they'd
Wala.
probably be seven.
Yeah, they'd probably be higher pa nga than 7. They'd probably
Oo,
be
'di ba?
6 or
At 'di ba? So parang gano'n. So now the NBA well, this has made them realize honestly that I think there's something that needs to happen. And going to that, I think we never touched on what's gonna happen with the bubble. I think from what I gathered, there'd be eight games that is going to be played by the 22 teams, which
yeah.
is para to resume everything. And then by August 17, there's going to be a playoffs, and then there's
Yeah.
going to be a play-in that's going to
Yeah.
happen where I think the guys competing for the 8th, 7th, 6th spot, or the 8th, the 8th to 8th and 9th, if they're
Yeah.
going to be jacked up by record, they're going to be doing something.
Yeah, that
So
yung play-in tournament na yan in Pinoy terms, twice to beat. That's
oh,
really what
yes,
it is, no? So that
yes,
night, if you finish ninth in the East and in the West, you have a chance to get into the playoffs and take the
true,
spot of the number eighth seed. If you beat them twice in
true.
a play-in tournament, which they call it play-in tournament, but it's really just a twice to beat advantage for whoever lands in the number 8 spot. But that's it's a really interesting situation. I honestly would have rather them bring in the top eight when the season was put on pause, bring them in, forget about everybody else. But I think they needed to think to make a little bit more owners happy. They wanted
True,
to think about ways to make a little bit more money. And they also
true.
wanted to think about ways to bring Zion Williamson
Ha
into the
ha
bubble.
ha ha!
So,
Compelling
be-
yan, bro. Okay.
because Zion is must-watch TV. Let's be honest. Everybody wants
True.
to watch Zion Williamson. So
Pare.
for them to have an excuse to bring Zion in, they needed to
Ah,
think, what do we do? I know the teams that have a shot to make it into the playoffs, who are 5 games, 6 games behind the number 8th seed, isali na natin. Diba? Parang that's the thought process there. Kasali na dyan yung Pelicans. But it's weird. But the Phoenix Suns, what are they doing there? Washington
true.
Wizards?
Saktaw nandyan pa. So, well, yeah, to be honestly, talking about Zion, it's the same feeling that I feel when I first watched LeBron.
Mm.
That
Grabe
kind of
siya.
that
Grabe
kind
siya.
of sabi mo para bang ibang klase to. He's really a transcendent star ba? How they call it,
Yeah.
He's once in a lifetime. He's that kind. Kumbaga, you could see. Kumbaga, you could feel it in the air, that kind of thing, with people like a Zion. You never felt this with Kobe. Ako, I never
It's
felt this.
different. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's different.
different because
Yeah,
because Kobe can
mm,
he's NBA world, he's normal. Diba? He's 6'7".
yes.
Diba? Parang he's
Skinny
built like
kid.
a basketball. Yeah, parang he's a
Uh,
normal guy. Zion's a
True.
freak. Zion is
Exactly.
a freak.
Some
Parang Zion is kind of like a mixture of LeBron, Charles Barkley, Blake Griffin, Sean Kemp, and one person. And that's
True.
Zion Williams.
He's actually a monster, pare.
Oh,
I
monster
don't know.
talaga siya.
Ewan
Monster.
ko, meron ako nakita na isang picture na magkakatabi sila, ewan ko, if for a pictorial yata, no? So there was Lonzo Ball, there was Brandon Ingram, there was him, there was other people. Sabi ko, totoo ba to? Hindi ba talaga to parang, hindi ba talaga to pinotoshop? Sabi ko, kasi talagang ang laki niya, as in, ang laki niya, pero sabi, feeling ko, hindi, parang totoo to eh. So, kasi, I think, and I've been reading a lot of him, and there were talks, and I think it's just a safe assumption that he was really bulking up, kasi when he came in after his injury, talagang he was really, to be honest, he wasn't in game shape or
Yeah.
talagang solid shape, So it makes sense that kumbaga, he did something. So parang sabi ko, parang ang laki. Parang, nag-gets mo, bro? Yung parang
Parang
hindi na totoo.
parang monster, and then sila Lonzo, parang Bugs Bunny. Parang ganun.
Ganun. Sabi ko parang, si ano pa ba to? Si Zion pa ba talaga to? Pero kasi but it makes sense, you know. And ako
Yeah.
ngayon, siguro when we go back after this break, we'll have some compelling questions that you know, and hopefully Jude comes in to the discussion already so that we could have someone who could chime in and give his inputs, you know, because we have so many compelling questions, you know, and one of them
Yeah.
is Zion, you know. But
Yeah.
we'll have to give our time to some of our partners. Guys, let's watch this.
When uncertainty is our reality, we rise above with the things that matter. Gigify happiness. Gigify love. Gigify friendship. Gigify dreams. Gigify hope. With smart Giga music, video, games, work, and stories, we let our passions run free in the new world we face together. Smart, live Giga.
And we are back. Thank you very much to our friends from Smart, Mr. Epok Kimpo, Mr. Froy and
Mm.
Daya, and Mr. Baji Del Rosario, who Mr. Manager Baji, for that. You know, every time I get inspired with that video, with that TVC, that you know, that
That
Smart,
one.
that one.
You
Ano,
do,
para
you
every
do, you do
oh,
TikTok. You
para
do.
sabi ko, ano, sabi no, tutuwa nga ako, sabi ko, sige papa, ano, i-run ko uli yung TVC, nakakatuwa talaga. So, so thank you very good job, Smart, for that very very nice video. And we are back again. So as promised, let's hope that Jude jumps into our discussions. This is a very very fun discussion. There are so many compelling questions, brother. That
Yeah.
that and, you know, as a pedestrian sports fan, you know, as a very very avid NBA fan, you know, daming angles, you know. But ako,
Mm-hmm.
we tried to pick up some of the angles that we need to see during this bubble, na para bang pwede nating, you know, tingin ko ba yung mga storylines, ano, that we can look into, ano. So let's
Yeah.
show you one, because we have 7 storylines that we prepared for our viewers. Eh. One is this: is the Greek freak ready to go to the next level?
Mm.
That's the first compelling discussion that we need to make. First things first, brother. You know,
Mm.
for the sake of, let's try to put a reference. You know, where is Greek freak really? So, kumbaga, syempre elite siya, but is he an all-timer already? At his age, can we consider him already an all-timer because he won an MVP already? But obviously, he
Yeah.
doesn't have a title. So that would be the challenge for him. Ano? But at this point, given the physical attributes that he has, obviously he's elite. Ano? So we need to understand where the jump is from an elite to an all-timer. Is siguro just to qualify that? Ano?
I think that's exactly what I would use. Those two words is what I would use. He is elite. He's an MVP. Might win again this year.
Mhm.
But will he become when all said is done, when his career is over, will he become considered one of the all time greats? Because he looks like he has all the tools. He
True.
looks like, everything's there. He's built he's built like a Greek god, and he has all the necessary skills. Maybe his outside shooting could use a little bit more work, but we saw him shoot a lot of threes already in the bubble. So maybe no
True.
fans works for him. But will he take that next step, make it to the finals, and win a championship? Because that's the next step for somebody who's won MVP, who looks like he's going to win back-to-back MVPs, and you can already see the jump that he. I saw him play in Spain during the World Cup. I remember him when he was a kid, when he was 17, 18 years old, and Japet Aguilar was dominating him in Seville. And then you look at him now; it's a world of difference. It's a different human being. And as a basketball fan, I'm excited to see what happens with Giannis, because the sky's the limit. Like he honestly can be a top five player when he's a top five player ever when he retires. Of course, it depends on how much he wins.
True, true, true. The first qualifier to be an all-timer would be rings, So let's just not try to go the direction of Charles Barkley. I think he's trying to justify his non-ring level, But I think, kumbaga para bang if you wanna try to be in the game of discussions in the all-timer list, that's the first, that's the first gate. Eh. So
Yeah,
I think
rings and be the best player on your team.
true.
Diba? Robert Ory has 7 rings.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a different story. I think he's a Chris Pulado type. Eh. So he's the he's the happy to be here and I have a ring
Yep,
because
yep, yep.
I'm the lucky charm. That
Yeah,
kind of thing, So nothing against our sir Robert Ory, sir, but you did a lot
yeah,
of when you were with the Lakers. Of course,
yeah,
we respect you a lot, sir. But I think 7 rings are good for you, and all timer ko on the ring list, but on the player all timer, I think we have to make sure that Giannis would have that first, to even be considered as that. I don't know what direction he's gonna take to get that, because KD did what he did. He went GSW route. Um, I talk about it, brother. Ako in my head, to be honest, ako if I want to win something, I want to win it the way a Kobe won it, uh, alone. I'm the best player there. The next best player is, let's say, a Bynum or a Pau Gasol. So it
mhm,
it separates me from let's say someone who has a second person that's close to talent level, Kasi you have to understand, 'di ba? Na para bang Kobe did it. Yun kaya mas compelling sa akin yung Kobe, the back to back, eh.
yeah,
Because that Kobe championship was Kobe. 'Di ba? It's not a Kobe Shaq, eh. It's a Kobe
yeah,
Kobe. So
yeah,
for Giannis, I think he has to be in a situation where he needs to elevate a certain team and then go over the hump by himself, or
mm,
maybe bring this current crew.
yeah.
What do you think?
I no, I agree in the sense that if Giannis manages to do that with this Bucks team, whether it's this year, next year, right, 3 years from now, you could consider him already to be closer to the top, right? I mean, not quite there yet, not even in the vicinity of a Kawhi or a LeBron, but he's getting there already. You know where he's going to end up.
True.
If he doesn't, then it's a different story, right? He's as much as I'm a huge fan of guys like Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, guys who didn't win, but I consider really really good. But iba pa rin eh. Iba pa rin yung if you're talking about let's say Charles Barkley and a I don't know like a okay left for lack of
Alone.
no somebody who won.
Oh,
Just if you look at them as players, parang okay it's comparable, but because the other person has a championship, then you'd probably consider him higher in the when you're considering those two players. So it doesn't make sorry, it doesn't make the player, but it certainly will add to the story of the player, and it adds to the hardware. And that's why diba, sa mga All-Star game when they have those patches,
sure.
uh, you have the mga accomplishments of that player. Parang you have how many All-Stars that player was there, how many MVPs, how many championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a badge. So parang it's really something. It's not everything, but it's a lot. It's a lot of it.
Agree. So let's try to agree on this that if the Greek Freak wins the championship now, he's gonna be at least top 10. Can you
All
agree on
time.
that? All timer
All,
or top 15, top 20?
ooh, ako 20 pa, baka 20. But
Ako nandun
you
pa ako
know,
na.
yeah, he's too. It's too soon. It's too
Too
soon.
soon,
So
ano? I think
Wait until he gets closer to. He's not even in his prime. That's the crazy
oo
part
nga 'no,
about it.
that's a crazy idea there. Totoo,
Grabe.
totoo.
Baka
Totoo.
maybe back-to-back MVPs and not even being in your prime is insane.
Exactly. So para bang,
Grabe.
I think if he does that, back-to-back MVP pagkatapos 3 rings, I think he's in the
Oh yeah.
vicinity of top
Oh
15.
yeah. Yeah,
Andun
yeah,
ako.
yeah.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
that ano. So, okay, let's close that out ano. So, yeah, I think this year is a compelling year for Giannis because he needs to bring that hardware so that it brings his level to that elite level, that outside elite sort of elite type. We have our other panel, Jude, inside. Now let's welcome him in. Jeans, huh? Hey,
Yo.
Jude. How are you, brother?
Hey guys.
Kaboom!
Hey guys.
Kaboom.
Sorry for being late.
That's
Tardiness.
fine. We all
I've
have
sat
to do what we have.
Shoot.
Go ahead, Jeans.
I've sat in his chair all day.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still wearing the same shirt, dude.
Ay, yeah. Yeah, nagpalit na ako from I've had a workout and a shower in between. So
I
yeah.
haven't.
Good for
I've been
you,
talking
sir.
basketball all day.
You guys, I know. Again, I know it's an honor to be the same screen as you guys. Talagang such an honor. Good guys,
Of course
So
not.
yeah. Thank you very much, Jude, for being with us, and putting some time in here. We were discussing, Jude, about the compelling questions that we have on this season. We talked earlier about the bubble, but right now, we're up to our second. Let me just give you first your time in the sun, Jude, to give our audience a shout out. Sorry.
Well, well, lahat po ng mga na nanonood ng Bull by the Horn, welcome everyone. Sorry for being late. These are exciting times, at least in the last week or so, for NBA fans. Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, but welcome everyone. It's good to be here, and hopefully, we can all have even a more spirited discussion this next hour.
Yep, and because of that, I'm gonna parlay into giving in our second compelling question. Jan, have Kawhi, PG, and the Clips played enough games together to develop the chemistry, even more to make them the favorites?
Mm.
I'll give you that first shot, Jude. What do you think?
My answer is no. Not only have we not, played enough games in one season where they can gel together. There's load management and there's injuries, right? So hindi lang yung all this time. I don't know how many games they played. I think maybe 70 whatever games to the season. But Kawhi hasn't played 70 games. Paul George hasn't played 70 games. And a lot of the Clippers haven't played 70 games. And now even in this restart, a couple of the sixth men didn't play in that first game. So I think it takes a long time for chemistry. And tingin ko, maybe they can get it going in the next couple of weeks or so. But the odds are against them. It's not that easy, especially when the other teams have played a lot longer.
Jeans, your thoughts?
They played without Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, and they lost by what, 1 point against the Lakers, maybe 2 points. Now, is this Laker team going to be the team we're going to see down the stretch? I don't think so. I think they're going to get better. Remember, it took them a little bit of time to get going in the regular season before the season was put on pause. But right before the season was put on pause, that's when the Lakers started really gaining momentum. That's when they really started gaining steam. The Clippers, even though they played spotty here and there, they were right in this game. Like it took the Lakers to heat up in the fourth quarter in order for them to actually get this win. So I honestly don't know the answer to this question because the Clippers have a lot of pieces that could be problematic to the Lakers, except that they don't have an answer for that guy right there, Anthony Davis. So they're built. The Clippers can beat LeBron, but because Anthony Davis is there, I don't know. But at the same time, when they're clicking, it's going to be hard to beat this team. But I don't know. I don't know about calling them the favorites. But I need to see them a little bit more because, again, like what Jude said, they haven't really played that many times complete throughout this entire season.
Yeah, no, I heard it was said during the game that they've had 29 different starting lineups this season. And I mean, there's only 70 games, right? So far that they've played. And to have 29 different starting lineups, I don't think that's a formula for chemistry.
Yeah.
True.
But do they need the chemistry?
I think if you want to make them the number one team, I don't think they can beat the upper echelon without the chemistry. You can't win on talent alone. I think it's both talent and chemistry, right? So they can probably get to a place where they're one of the best teams, but without that chemistry, I don't think they'll win championship.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, my thoughts on this, I think what the Clippers did with the load management with Kawhi is because they want to rest Kawhi and they want to have that competitive edge of a rested Kawhi. But the challenge now is that everyone is rested.
Yeah.
So now, where's your competitive edge?
Yeah,
To me, that's.
But I guess with this whole load management with Kawhi, Toronto got away with it last year. They won, right? With the load management. So I think it's hard to argue against it. But I think the risk still is the whole chemistry issue, right? I mean, I think Kawhi, that team was 3 bounces away from being eliminated, right? I mean,
True.
So it's not like it was really hands down the load management worked. I just think, I mean, the everything just came together for them, right? With Durant getting injured in the final. I mean, there's just things that happened that made it so that Toronto was able to do it, but not necessarily because Kawhi had load management.
Yeah, so now I don't see them as the favorites. I don't see chemistry in them. I think, it's a different story these days. It's like what we mentioned earlier. Bubble is different. This is the first for everyone. So it cannot be, there's no one that's going to be favored here, I think. I mean, it's this is a level playing field now because no one has really experienced playing in a bubble.
Yeah.
So
And no home court advantage.
True.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, I will say this, because of the bubble, I think that the teams with the most talented players would probably have the best advantage because you take out a lot of the other factors, right? The travel, the crowd, all these other things. So everything becomes patas na lahat, right? You get everything all in the same level. So it's the talent that will now rise to the top. So the most talented teams, the teams with the Giannis's of this world and the LBJs and the Kawhis, I think those are the teams that will now rise up and we'll see be more a little bit more dominant because of the other factors being taken out, right?
True.
And it's going to be more talent and chemistry than anything else, actually.
All right, let's just close that out and let's just kind of agree that they're not yet there. Okay, so here's the third question: will a full Blazers team really be able to be the dark horse? The question to me with this is that can they get out of that second round funk or that early exit funk that they always have?
Well,
What do you guys think?
I hope they don't make the second round because that means they would have beaten the Lakers in the first. No, but this is a scary team, a really, really scary team. Remember when was it last year that they made it to the Western Conference Finals? Now they're back. Now that team is back, maybe even better. They added Carmelo Anthony, a dynamic scorer in the history of the NBA, and they look pretty good in their first game. And I think they're just going to get better. Nurkic looks really good, right? I mean, he looks like skipped a beat. It looks like he's been playing all season long, but he hasn't.
True.
The team was decimated most of the season, but they were still within the hunt. They were still invited to go to Florida. So if they're complete, well, they are complete, but it's going to be, I think they can actually get past Memphis to be the eighth seed.
Okay. Jude, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the only thing I probably wouldn't agree with is again this whole chemistry issue, right? So they had a lot of injuries, and the talent is now back, but the talent hasn't played together in a long time, right? In fact, they haven't played together at all. In the last many months until now, right? So they'll probably be good enough to make the playoffs. But I think because of that chemistry, and again for me, and even the talent, right? So this Trailblazers team is very talented from 1 to 12, but their 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 is not as talented as the other 1 to 3 and 1 to 4s, right? I mean, when you think of the other teams with an AD and LeBron, with a Kawhi and Paul George, with Westbrook and Harden, a McCulloch and Damian Lillard tandem is not. I wouldn't put them in that same. They're upper echelon, but they're not top 3 or 4, right? For a duo. So I think definitely. I mean, you compare them. Who's in Memphis? Ja Morant and Triple J or
Jaren
whatever,
Jackson,
right? Yeah. So you compare those two to the best players of Memphis. I'd take the experience and the talent of Portland. But if you compare that to LeBron and AD or a Kawhi and Paul George or Harden and Westbrook, I think again I'll take the talent along with the chemistry with that. So yeah, it's a scary team, and then there'll be a dark horse to get into the playoffs, but not to go far. I don't think.
All right. You know what? What resonates to me as a team that's going to be a better dark horse? Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets.
I think that. I mean, but the Denver Nuggets have been one of the top teams in the West already, right? So that's para sa akin lang. I consider them already there.
They're actually not too far from overtaking the Clippers in the one loss record, right?
Maybe let me qualify that. A dark horse outside of the top three or top three Bucks, the two LA teams, So you're actually, maybe if we qualify that, these are the top three that you'd probably be putting your money on, but there's this other team that you'd probably, you can't sleep on, Denver Nuggets.
You're talking about 1 to 12. Like Jude was saying, the Blazers 1 to 12 is good. The Denver Nuggets 1 to 12 is better. Now they don't have the transcendent superstar that like Damian Lillard, but the talent level of that entire roster, you can't match it. Like 1 to 12, not even the Lakers, the Clippers, the Bucks can match how much talent that team has.
There's this something that Mike Malone is doing. I think he's very much experimenting with this lineup. It's different. I think they're up to something.
All centers.
All centers. With that said,
all centers.
Let me just put this fourth question in.
Speaking of which.
How so?
Yeah, you have to understand,
legit.
Bol is in a two-way contract, so he's G Leaguer going here. I just want to understand, your thoughts, guys. Is he legit? Is the Denver Nuggets window dressing, and just trying to put him there so that he could get some of his much needed exposure? But when I saw him, I think there's potential, there's upside. But what do you think?
I'll be honest. I haven't seen him enough to have
I'll show you, Jude. Don't worry. Let's just show you. Bol here. You don't have to worry. Say no more, sir.
He looked impressive to me. That's why he looked pretty
Say
good.
No more, sir.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? I think this is the way I see a lot of these fringe first rounders, second rounders, right? A lot of how successful they become is how they develop in the first 3-4 years, right? So there's gonna be there's gonna be 5 or 6 players within each draft where you say to yourself, hey, this guy, he's gonna be at least an average player, if not above average, and some all stars, right? But some of these players like Bol and that are that have the talent and don't get picked, in the top 5 or top 10 or whatever. It's not the key to them is development in the first 3-4 years, right? And when the scouts do their thing, that's what they have to look for is, hey, is the raw talent there that has potential to get better, and if they see that in what they see now, and if he upgrades that, and then of course, for sure.
Yeah, I've been seeing this is the highlight that I've been checking out. This is talent right here. I think the handles for a 7-footer is really elite. Shooting, he might probably have been doing his shooting the last 2 weeks. That's why he got lucky with all of those shots. So it remains to be seen. But I think the raw, this kind of human specimen is different. So there's something there.
Yeah, let's see what happens, right? And he's at the level where players who do well get scouted and the defenses adjust, and then that's where we see how good these guys are, right?
100% there, Jude. I agree with you because he looks like he surprised some of these guys, right? In the scrimmages, he looked like a lot of these guys were like, where did this guy come from? Like, I didn't know that he could do these things because he wasn't scouted. Once they learn how he plays, they'll be able to adjust, and it's going to be, if he manages to get over that hurdle, then that's going to be the true test. But having said that, there is material there to work with. You can see it. You can see there's something there, and it depends how they polish it to make that rawness into a star. But I think there's something there.
That's where coaching would come in. That's where a good coach who can adjust, who can actually try to put him inside the piece of his strategy would come in. So I think Mike Malone is in a situation where he also has a Michael Porter Jr. So that's another piece that you need to consider, guys. They're getting long. Plumlee is getting to be a guard. You have
I saw
really a guard.
I saw a box score where they put
Jokic as the point guard.
As the point guard, right?
Yeah, exactly. So did they have a lineup where it's minimum 6'10"?
Yeah, I mean they're the anti-Rockets. Totally the opposite.
True. So I mean, it's very interesting to see how the Rockets and them would match up with that lineup and their lineup.
And that's the thing. The playoff basketball is about adjustment and matchups, right? Because you play them, for best of 7. So it's really how these players can match up, and defenses switch and all these things that happen. That'd be an interesting series, actually.
That would be it. I mean, we're gonna see a guy, a 6'7" center going up against
PJ Tucker,
the average height would maybe have a 5-6 inch.
Grabe yun. That's grabe. So
that's
that's interesting.
Gilas versus Greece. Para yung size advantage.
Layo, di ba? So it'll be interesting. So what final take on Bol? He has potential, but probably not there.
I think he's closer than maybe Jude's giving him credit for. But that's just me. But
I know. I would say I just haven't seen him enough, I guess.
Okay.
That's what I said in the beginning, and I will say this: like the Denver Nuggets have done a tremendous job in scouting talent. That's why 1 to 12. They've had. I mean, in deference to them, they actually screwed up my Bulls in 5-6 years ago in a draft where they traded their pick for the Bulls pick, and the Bulls got McDermott, and they got Gary Harris, right?
Yes, that trade.
And yeah, and somebody and Nurkic. I think they got Nurkic and Harris for Doug
Yep.
McDermott, right? I mean,
Mm.
that's a one-sided pre-draft
Deal.
trade for
True.
sure, right? For sure. But and then they got a Michael Porter, I think, towards the end of the lottery, where he was being projected top three.
Top
Uh,
3, top 5, yeah, because there's
yeah,
an injury right there. You know. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
true.
So I guess the only silver lining for me as a Bulls fan is that their assistant GM is now the Bulls GM. So hopefully, hopefully the Bulls can start drafting much better from now on.
I think what the Denver Nuggets did is that they took flyers on those that are legitimate, lottery picks, but I think something wrong happened down the line when people were scouting that the stocks drop, like
Yeah.
Michael Porter.
Yeah.
Bol Bol
No,
was really, Bol Bol was invited to the draft, diba?
yeah,
He
yeah,
was,
yeah,
and he got drafted around 50.
yeah,
So I think that they have this mentality that I'm gonna take a flyer on this outsider of the top 5, top 10. I'm gonna take you in, but they
Yeah.
screwed up on the Moutier draft.
yeah. The
Uh,
Moody was the bad one.
but they went ahead and they got a Murray. So I think that it made sense to them that after a year or two of looking at Moutier, they didn't see him as the point guard of the future, which I think tama yan. That was a good call. But they're drafting good. And
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are.
they got lucky with Nurkic and Jokic. Imagine you have the
yeah,
opportunity to pick between two great ones, two
yeah,
great European centers.
What was really weird for me though is how come those two couldn't figure out how to play with each other? Because
Because
can you imagine? Like,
mm,
I know they're similar, and I know they play somewhat the same, but Jokic is the better player. But
true,
I mean, I could just imagine had they figured out how to work together. Wow, that
yeah,
that team would be even scarier now.
true. Although I think in terms of spacing, I
Yeah,
think it was really a good call to really pick between the two, and I think they made a good call, the best call, which is to really pick Joker. You know, so yeah, so let's try to put. To me, I think also Portland and the Nuggets are there. With
yeah.
ball, yeah, remains to be
You know,
seen.
I
Yeah.
think though, I think OKC can surprise some teams. I think
Oh yeah.
OKC. I
yeah,
mean, they've overachieved all season long. Nobody even gave them a chance to. Everybody thought they would be a lottery team. But
True.
what are they?
True.
What
True.
are they now? Six? Are they 6 or 7 in the
Right.
West right now? So
Yeah.
they've surprised a lot of players, a lot of teams out there.
True. Jeans, I'll put this.
Hmm.
This one is what do you think of this? What do you think of this, Jude?
Ay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kobe. I'll give you the
wait,
floor first.
can I do this? Can I do this?
Grabe, hindi obvious.
Hindi ob- hindi
Hindi
obvious.
obvious. O sige, I'll give you the floor, bro. So what do you think?
Me? Oh, okay. Honestly, this is my biggest fear because they really got the ball rolling. They beat the Clippers, they beat the Bucks back to back, and then it looked like LeBron was ready to turn the corner, go for that MVP award. It looked like they might catch up with the Bucks to be the number one overall team. Then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened, and then they lost a big piece, maybe not a huge piece, but a big piece in Avery Bradley. They lost another piece in Gary Payton, and they're trying to replace it with J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters. I don't know if it's going to work. I honestly don't. But the bright side of this little hiatus is that LeBron was able to rest for the first time for 4 straight months. And I mean, you saw him on defense in the first game. Like, I don't think he's ever played defense like that hard for quite some time. So I still need to see them a little bit more to see if they can. Can they? Yeah, they can, but I don't know if they will. But like Jude said, it may not be needed because they have two of the top 5 players in the NBA on one team. So Whether the other pieces fall into place and the stars align for them, I don't know, and I don't know if it would matter. It would be better if it did, so that they'd have a better chance. But when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that takes care of a big chunk of things that you need to do.
Jude, sir, your thoughts
Yeah,
on this?
no, I definitely think they can pick up where they left off. This is, I mean, LeBron, I think, is in his final 2-3 years of being the best player in the planet. If not, only a couple more years before he starts being human and just being a regular all-star. But I think this is it for him. He knows that he's only a couple years. His timetable isn't so long anymore. He's got Anthony Davis there. So I do think he's going to take it upon himself to make sure that they have the best chance at this thing. So I think I'm a Jordan fan. I do think Jordan's the GOAT, but I think LeBron James is in the conversation for the best ever, right behind Jordan, right? So you're talking about a guy who knows how to win. You're talking about a guy who combines his physical and cerebral basketball talent. So and you can tell in that first game that he was just studying how things were going to go. He was surveying the defense, the offense, and I think it's gonna. The only thing that I think will prevent the Lakers from losing is injury from one of the two, like LeBron or AD. Otherwise, historically, I think this is their best shot, and I think LeBron wants it, and more than any other year. Right, so because it's towards the end, so I think they'll pick it up. They'll pick it up. With your question. I think they'll stay number one, right? I think that's really the question here is if they're going to be the number one seed, right? So I think they will be the number one seed, at least in the West.
I'll parlay that to another question, LA style.
Yes.
Playoff Kawhi.
Yes.
Pare, playoff Kawhi. What do you think, guys?
I'll say this, Jude. I think honestly, I think Kawhi is the best player in the NBA right now. Over Giannis, over LeBron. If it wasn't for the load management, he would be considered it would be a 3-person race for the MVP. But the advantage that the Lakers have, in my opinion, is that LeBron has won, and like you said, Jude, LeBron knows that the window is closing. He needs to win this in order to cement his legacy, right? In order to cement not just as a Laker, but as an NBA player, as a basketball player. Don't get me wrong, he's already going to be considered one of the greatest ever, maybe top 2. But if he wins another championship in LA, the magnitude of that is immense. So that's going to be just that the weight of the LA championship might be more than the weight of the Heat championships. It's not going to be more than the Cleveland, because this is LA, and it's the championships in LA are just different than the championships in Miami. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So I think in that sense he's going to do what he can, like what Jude said. But playoff Kawhi is really scary. It's really, really, really scary. The advantage there, though, is Anthony Davis. It's still they have no answer for him. Even if Montrezl Harrell played in the first game, it would have not made a difference. Anthony Davis would have still dominated, and I think that's going to be the key.
But I think you flipped that question, right? I mean, what about playoff LBJ, right? How many championships has Kawhi won? How many championships has LeBron won? Right? I mean, it's not. I mean, you're making it to be like this guy is the best playoff player performer ever, right? But hey, come on. He did well with the Spurs a couple times, right? And he did well with Toronto last year with the load management, and I'm not a Kawhi hater, but I do think LeBron and Giannis are minimum just as talented, if not better. Minimum. Uh, Although Giannis hasn't won, but he's in a I still think he's younger than Kawhi, and it was a series that they lost to Toronto, barely. So I do think, yeah, with that question for sure, I think LeBron and AD, if they still stay healthy and continue with the way they're playing, can overcome a playoff. I mean, remember Kawhi never went through the West, right? I mean, he when he won last year, right? I mean, he went through the West with Golden State, but without Durant, right? So practically without Durant, and so I do think he is, he's not as dominant as people would want to think. At least not above. Again, with me, I'm not a Laker fan for sure, and I'm not even a LeBron fan. But I can't put Kawhi above LeBron even right now. So yeah, I think they can overcome for sure.
For sure. Me, I think as well. I think it's you're right when you said that. No, there's also an LBJ playoff guy. There's also
Yeah.
playoff mode LeBron, and I think there's a lot of weight that LeBron has carried over the years that Kawhi hasn't carried. The media, how he handles situation. I think it weighs in a lot that it's not an apple to apple comparison when you compare the load and the things that LeBron
Yeah.
has done in the past, as
And
opposed to, let's say, a
the
Kawhi.
longevity, how many finals has he? I mean, before last year, what, 9 straight finals? I mean, how
Oh yeah,
that's
that's a
tough.
lot. True.
Tough. You
That,
know?
that's that's why this hiatus could be a blessing in disguise for the Lakers
True.
also.
It's all equal now. There's no advantage that Kawhi carries because he's well rested, because everyone's well rested. So yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, we're looking at the same direction with the Lakers. I think they can. I'm just gonna show this last question. 23 points per game, 5 rebounds, consistent guy after the injury. Thoughts, guys? Gino.
19 games is not enough. Even with this somewhat shortened season, because the final 8 games aren't going to count in the playoff in the MVP voting and the rest of the awards. But it's just not enough. I mean, will he be the better player? I think he might be the better player in the long run. But he should. Had he played maybe 8 to 10 games more somewhere there, then I think it would be no question. But Ja Morant, he's already a star, but he's gonna get better. Now I think Zion, like we were talking about a while ago, he is a transcendent player. He is a freak of nature. We've seen players kind of like Ja Morant already. We haven't really seen somebody like Zion. We kind of did with Sean Kemp. We kind of did with Blake Griffin, and so on and so forth. But Zion's still different, right? He's still a more of a freak than those guys. And so I think eventually, if health is not going to be an issue, Zion will have a better career. He will go down in history as the better player, but he will not win Rookie of the Year only playing 19 games.
Jude.
That's Ja.
This is a no-brainer actually. I mean, impact, contribution to the team, statistics. There's no question. If you look at New Orleans and say who was the best contributor to why they're playoff contenders now, I mean, Zion wouldn't even be top 5. I don't think. I mean, you'd pick from
Brandon Ingram.
Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, all these guys before you put Zion's name in there. I mean, Zion is really, he is a freak of nature, and he does wow you with the plays, right? But that it stops at that. You know, he's got blocks that will make your jaw drop. He's got dunks that will just rattle the whole stadium, right? And all these, but they're plays. You know, they're not worthy of rookie of the year. You know, they're worthy of the top 10 plays of the month or whatever, right? And what he's done. So yeah, and if if he can't even play half the games, what you can't. That's important, right? I mean, you have to be on the floor to be considered as the best on whatever it is that you do. And if he's not even there half the time, at least not for this season, right? So it's all potential for now.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
So, but actual current, I'd be surprised if anybody voted anything outside of Ja. I mean, this should be a unanimous vote, right? I mean,
You'll
it
be
would be.
surprised with my vote,
No,
dude.
it might be somebody from New Orleans or maybe a distant relative of Zion who's part of the press corps that's voting or something, right?
I'm not from New Orleans. I'm gonna show you now why I've been talking this way because these are the picks.
Nice.
There you go, boys. So yeah, I picked Zion. You guys picked Ja.
Yeah.
The reason why I picked Zion, I think impact. It's true that I think there's the more number of games that Ja did, but I think so. I'm thinking in terms of impact, and there's the media aspect that plays a lot in this. There's that possibility, so I'm putting him in there. But let's do top to bottom for now. Champion guys, Lakers. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'm a Laker fan, so I need to vote for the Lakers. And again, like we were talking about a while ago, the storyline, the narrative of the Lakers, not just winning this for not just winning this for his legacy, but also for the narrative of winning it for Kobe. And I think that, for me anyway, that would add so much weight in for a Laker championship during this time, during in the bubble or the campus. LeBron's first, and the first one after Kobe passed away.
Yeah.
Me, I can't explain it anymore. Just being a fan, I just wanted Lakers. So it cannot be explained anymore. So, Jude,
I'll do an explanation because I am
yeah,
not a
please
Laker fan.
be the unbiased guy. Be the
No,
one that will explain to everyone.
no, I think if you look at the history of the teams that have won championships, it's almost always who has the best and most talented player, and a second best most talented. There's something to that effect where in that year who was the best player, right? So last year Durant was injured, so it was Kawhi, right? Who was the best player? LeBron was injured, so it was Kawhi, right? I know Giannis, was the MVP, but I think Kawhi really he was the guy, right? But even on all those other years, right? When Golden State won, Steph was the MVP, and he was clearly, there was one time I think he got unanimous votes for MVP, right? So that's really my reasoning, along with the fact that it is LeBron's last few years. So I think he will focus a bit more in getting this done. And now that we're in the bubble, I do think that again the most talented teams will now rise to the top easier than before, where if you're in the home court of the other team, the emotions can get over and the crowd can control, and even referees can get affected, right, in some calls. But now all those things are a bit more even. So talent will really make the difference. And this is, I think, they're the most talented. Even after AD and LeBron, I mean, it's still, I mean, it's a pretty talented team.
All right, Jeans, there's someone who explained to everyone why. So we're good. Okay? So Lakers all the way, bro.
I'll take
MVP.
it. I'll take it.
All right. MVP, guys. Jude said LBJ. Gino said Greek Freak. I said LBJ.
Okay,
LBJ.
I want
He did go.
I want to clarify my choice there.
Go.
I think Giannis will win it because if you stop where the season left off, LeBron was just starting to get rolling. He was just starting to pick even switch gears and turn it up a notch. That's why I put there. It should be co-MVP. Just give it to both of them. I mean, we've never seen anything like this
All
anyway.
right.
So
There's
you
a
may as
caveat.
well,
Okay. Sure.
you
All
may
right.
as
All
well
right.
give it to both. You may as well give it to both of them. However, having said that again, if you saw Giannis today, how can you not vote for him? I mean, he was a monster today. Unreal. Unreal. So there's no wrong answer for me between the two of them.
True.
I could convince myself one or the other. That's why I'm going straight down the middle and just give them co-MVP.
You can't do that, man. You have to pick one. So, okay.
If there's a co-rookie of the year, there should be a co-MVP.
When was the last time that happened? I think what? I think Tagal. I haven't.
Jason Kidd, Grant
In
Hill.
Grant Hill, rookie MVP. It hasn't happened yet, or 50s, 60s. I
Never,
don't know. Never
never.
happened. Yeah, okay.
No.
Ako LBJ, why? Because he transitioned to point guard, being the facilitator. He now leads the league in assists. That's for someone like he's a playmaker. He does things, but for him to take himself to the next level and actually validate that by leading the league in assists, that's something. That's not stat padding anymore. That's really, this is who I am. I'm really unique. I'm really the best player out here. And I think, the redeem aspect, of really, I didn't see the player rating. So, he should be there. He should be up there. But he's there. I mean, no, hands down, being number one in assist when you were transitioned to being the facilitator. Wow, to me, that's good. Enough
Yeah,
said.
I think this is a tough thing because everybody has a different definition on what an MVP is, right?
Yeah.
So when people vote, they all have, oh, it's really the stats, oh, it's really how much of an impact he is with the team, or how he makes his teammates better. Everybody has a different thing, and I just think LBJ will win it out of sentimentality because Giannis already won it last year. He still has a big, bright future ahead of him, and he'll get voted in a few more times before his career is over. So I guess for me, it's probably a sentimental vote that I'm predicting with some of the, whoever votes with the press corps or whoever. Hey, this is one of the last chances of LBJ to actually win it. And Giannis still has a lot more chances in the future, and they're kind of head to head anyway. And it's a toss up. So we'll just give it to the guy who's about to end his career in the next few years, versus a guy who can still win it many times in the next 10 to 15, right? So that
That's
was
so
my
right.
thinking. Yeah, that was my thinking actually, because you're right, Gino. I mean, it's you can do co MVPs, but as voters, they'll probably. I'm thinking they'll have that sentimental thing in their
Sure.
hearts. And yeah, we'll
Yeah.
vote for LBJ for old time's sake because
Yeah.
it might be his
Sentimental
last.
votes. Yeah.
Yeah,
It could
it might be
swing.
his-
That's a swing
yeah,
vote.
and it's not like he doesn't deserve it. It's just that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why they'll vote for him instead of Giannis, because it might be his last, or his last few chances to win it.
Right. Right. Depoy. We got Depoy. I got Kawhi. Gino has AD. Jude has Giannis. Thoughts, guys? Me, I voted Kawhi lockdown. Although basically he didn't play enough, but I think when it comes to being the defensive play, I didn't again see the defensive rating, but I pick him because he's the lockdown. He's the number one lockdown defender, hands down. Jeans.
Okay. I picked 80 because he's a Laker. No. No, okay. I picked 80 because the Lakers have the number two best defense in the NBA right now.
Okay.
Anthony Davis is a number two or number three in blocks in the NBA. And
Yeah.
if you look at the defense of the Lakers this season as compared to even last season, it's a big difference, and a lot of that has to do with Anthony Davis. So you take him out of that team, there's a big hole there. I mean, sure, you have Dwight Howard and you have JaVale McGee in terms of blocks, and that's why they're top three, top two in blocks in terms of team standings in blocks. But I think a lot of it has to do with Anthony Davis too, and I think he's the guy that will try to actually win this, because he actually put it out there in an interview that's his goal this year. His goal is not to win MVP. His goal is to win a championship and to be the defensive player of the year. And I think because he's focused on that, he has a chance to winning this. Plus, he's a Laker.
Okay. Jude, thoughts? Your vote.
Well, my bias is towards Anthony Davis because he's from Chicago, right? So, but all of the things that Jinno said about AD, like if he's not there, the defense is not the same. You can say that about Giannis with Milwaukee, right? Plus, Giannis is a lockdown defender, right? He's more the lateral movement, that kind of thing. He would be better than AD, but he can also protect the rim as good as well as anybody else, right? And you take him out of there of Milwaukee's middle and on defense, it's a big hole, right? So that's why I said Giannis, because he's an AD that has a better lockdown defense, pretty much.
All right, guys, all NBA. And who's the other guy? Giannis. But the one that's different for for me would be Dame. For Gino, it's gonna be Kawhi. For Jude, it's Tatum. I'm interested in that Tatum pick. Why?
Actually, I just picked Tatum because I didn't want everybody in the West. Giannis was by himself as the East guy, and I wanted a guard from the East, right? To be part of the
Why not Trae Young?
Yeah, no, but they haven't won, right? Boston is a contender, and Atlanta's not. So that's why I picked Tatum, and I do think Tatum, although he played terrible today or this morning, I do think he is a premier guard now.
He's gonna be there. Yeah. Is he not there yet?
I think I would think he's the best player in the Celtics, regardless.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you can. The other guys probably have better history, with Kemba and then Hayward and all those guys. Yeah. But I think Tatum is he's going to be the star there. He's a star now, right? So, So I guess him. I wanted somebody from the East. It's just so. There's two players in the East, and I thought, and it needed to be a guard, so I picked him.
Yeah. Is he still there in that scaling his upside thing, or is he there on that first phase where he's already achieved that phase where I'm priming to be a superstar? I'm talking about Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
is he there in that bubble?
He's at the cusp.
Spot?
Yeah, he's at the cusp. So this is where development comes, right? So if he develops some facets of his game that like his defense or his outside shooting, being more of a long range threat than he is now, he becomes a superstar. So he's at the cusp of that all-star / superstar. And that's where this whole development, if he can switch it on into the level, right? And that he's got a shot.
All right.
Yeah,
Gene. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say before the hiatus, Tatum was insanely. What was he averaging, like 40 points? He was
in that zone. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So, So yeah, I mean, I think we don't need to make it that big a case for Tatum because he is there. I think he is. Drew's right. He is an all-star, but he's pretty much a superstar already in my book.
Right,
Well,
right.
I totally cheated on mine, to be honest with you. If you look at my list again,
Let's show that.
I cheated by putting Anthony Davis at center. And then I cheated by putting Kawhi and Giannis as my forwards, Harden as my two guard, and LeBron is actually my point guard in that line now. I totally cheated because I think these are the five best players in the NBA.
It
And I
should
think
be. There's a positionless now.
yeah, right. So that's why I didn't because Davis doesn't want to play center, or he says he doesn't want to play center. LeBron is not listed as a point guard, but although he should be because he is leading the league in assists and he acts like a point guard out there anyway. So I think
Especially
my list
when Rondo's out already.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah.
It's the point
No
guard on that
Avery,
team.
yeah. No Avery, no no everything.
So
Yeah.
so yeah. It's not the way it's going to happen because LeBron is listed as a forward, and so
Yeah.
we're not going to see that list. But I totally cheated in mine.
Me, I picked
Yeah.
Dame because it's Dame time. It's
Yeah,
about time.
that's the one who's going to make it
About
instead of my
time.
list.
It's about time. He deserves it.
He does
Yeah, he's been
for sure.
carrying it. He's been carrying
Yeah,
it.
that's-
He's been
yeah,
bringing it.
The
You
tough
know?
thing with the tough thing with Dame is he doesn't seem to get the votes. No, I mean, and
Yeah.
he's even All Star. It was tough for him to make.
I think because he's also playing in an era when you have when you have these guards like you have Steph, you have Kyrie,
Right.
all these really, really good guards, and
Yeah,
he was
he's-
caught right there.
Yeah,
right?
on the second tier. He's always
Even-
second tier.
And part of that is because he plays in a small market in
True.
Portland. So if
True.
if he was doing this in whether it was New York or Chicago or LA, things would be different. But because he's playing in a small market, and then Kyrie has won with LeBron, and Steph is Steph, things might be different. But he come to LA, Damon Lillard. Come on.
Pare, true. Because LeBron has 2 good years na lang as per Jude Turcuato.
AD and Dame. No, but
My God.
No, but
Ang
to qualify those LeBron good years, right? Good years meaning the best in the world,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
Ah.
so an average LeBron is still an All Star.
An average LeBron would still be what? A Paul George? Huh?
Yeah, no, I mean he'd be top tier for sure. I mean he's not the best. Well, I'm saying like LeBron, he is the best player in the world only up until next year probably,
Yeah.
and then he becomes like an All Star na lang.
All right. Okay, we go to sixth man. I got you guys have Lou. Well, I have Harrell. Oh, nako, baliktad. I think Gino got Harrell, I got Lou. So I got 2 Lou's and I got a Harrell.
yeah. I remember putting down Lou, although I want to change it. Can I put in Jordan
Okay.
Clarkson?
That's that's what I was thinking, because we have to put in our Filipino pride, But I had Lou. I had Lou. 19 points.
Yeah.
I think that's and the scoring machine. Matic.
He should, but the thing is, he should be a starter, right? He's too good to be a sixth man. He's kind of like what the Celtics did with Kevin McHale, just to bring him off the bench and to have that kind of stabilizing person in the second unit, and that's what Lou Williams is doing. But if you look at traditionally the sixth man, I'm making a case for Jordan Clarkson. By the way, the sixth man is somebody who is technically not good enough to be a starter, but will give you starter production, and that's kind of what Jordan Clarkson has done for the Jazz. If you notice, when JC was traded, when he moved to Utah, they went on like a 20-game winning streak. Or
True.
maybe that's exaggerated.
No,
Not 20.
20 point, double figure CCJC during that time. Yeah.
But they wouldn't. They won like what, eight straight, 9 straight, something like that.
Yeah,
It
around
was so they did it during a time when Mike Conley couldn't figure it out, and that's why it was so important that trade was so important for them, because it seemed like Connolly was so lost on the court for some bizarre reason. Speaking of guy who was underappreciated, that's another one right there, Mike Conley.
Yeah, for the longest time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like Dame Senior.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you can make a case for JC to win sixth man of the year.
Yeah. Okay. So Jude, Lou. Why?
Yeah, well, no,
Quick.
I think definitely he's good enough to be a starter, right? But there's just some players who play much better. They're like Diesel, right? I mean, they just play much better coming off the bench. They just play much better when they don't play with the superstars, and that's him. That's how he is, right? I mean, he plays like a superstar, but he doesn't have superstar talent, so he doesn't play well in the starting lineup, right? Because
Yeah.
he's ball dominant. He shoots a lot. He shoots a lot of difficult shots. That's what superstars do, right? But
And he-
but he's not a superstar. So I think if you put him in the starting lineup, he doesn't do as well, right? Because somebody else is the superstar when he's in the starting lineup.
G, G, do you guys remember that Lou Williams was a Laker for a time? Had
Yeah, I do.
he been he been the Lou Williams of Lou Williams Clippers, and then you put him on the Lakers team.
Now, especially him there now. But
See,
I think
sayang,
a big deal about a big thing, a big part of it also is because he plays against the second unit, and
Yeah.
to have that much talent and be playing against the second unit of other teams, he is going to dominate. And I think Lou Williams, one of the greatest sixth men in the history of the NBA. Yeah, and you can. This should be the Lou Williams Sixth Man of the Year award. They should just rename it as that.
Right. All right, let's go to the Koi Coach of the Year. I got Billy Donovan. You guys have Nick Nurse.
Kala ko, Chloe.
Chloe, Ay, iba yun. That's what my wife always watched from 5 months ago. Okay. Coach of the Year, I have Billy Donovan. I think, I think Gina told us
Yeah.
earlier that they weren't supposed to be where they are now.
No.
I think there's a lot of things that adjusted, but there's also that Chris Paul,
Yes.
angle that it makes it different when there's a Chris Paul. You could always talk about how he rubs his teammates the wrong way, but I think Chris Paul is a different dynamic here. So I think there's a lot that contributed to OKC, but without a good coach to facilitate that, it won't happen. So I got Billy Donovan.
All right,
You
great,
guys.
great choice. Great choice with Billy Donovan, because he was the guy that I was kind of thinking about also for when you asked me this question. But I went with Nick Nurse because if you look at what the Toronto Raptors have done, and they lost Kawhi, their best player in Kawhi Leonard, and they lost another great perimeter defender in Danny Green, and their record is the same as last year. They're pretty much doing almost the same thing as last season with those two guys there. You got to give it to Nick Nurse, and that gave me the edge. They lost so much, yet their seedings in the East and the way they play defense, it's like they didn't lose anything. And plus the fact that they were able to develop some of the other players
Pascal,
on that roster, like
Yeah.
Pascal,
Yeah.
Van Vliet. Van Vliet has been awesome.
Fred, nasa fantasy ko si Van Vliet.
Ah,
Si Fred. He's a good guy on my fantasy. Yeah. Okay, Jude, your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, this is why I think he deserves it, right? So the Toronto Raptors lose Kawhi. I mean, they lose whatever Gino said they lost. And then you look at their lineup. The Oklahoma City Thunder lose Westbrook, and they get Chris Paul. I think at best people probably thought these two teams would struggle to make the playoffs, right? Both Oklahoma City and Toronto. I mean, they probably were on the same boat because of the lineup. Toronto's the defending champions, but they lose their best player, right? Oklahoma City, I don't think people also expected them to be a playoff contender, both, right? But Toronto is not only a playoff contender, but a top team in the East, right? And even though Oklahoma City is better than expected, they're not one of the top teams, right? But Toronto is one of the top teams, right? And the other thing that I think puts Nick Nurse over the top is that he also could have won it last year and should have won it last year over Budenholzer because of what he did, right? I mean, I don't think anybody thought
No way.
guy would bring whatever he brought to the Raptors, but he didn't win, right? So again, I'm looking at the voters here, and they probably some of the voters had voted for Nick Nurse already, and he didn't win, and they're not going to give it to Budenholzer. If you look at the history of Coach of the Year, they never vote the same coach back to back, right? Back to back, right? Because they voted him because he did well, and then he does well again. So it's just the same. There's not a lot of improvement or whatever, right? So that's why I think those reasons where, hey, Nick Nurse should have won it last year, so they're going to vote for him this year because he's also done just as great of a job, if not better, than last year, right? So and Billy Donovan's been around a while, and he hasn't done diddly, right?
Yeah,
a lot of the reason why, a lot of the reason why OKC is doing well is because of Chris Paul and SGA.
Yeah.
SGA has been phenomenal.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's-
no, we didn't see that. We didn't talk about that.
yeah. So but Nick Nurse, man, I drew this right there that the narrative will favor in towards the direction of Nick Nurse.
Wow, we talked a lot, but we really didn't talk about one person, James Harden.
Briefly, we did.
No, but not even once, man. I never.
We
well,
did. We mentioned him in the no. We mentioned him in the
All NBA, man.
All NBA. We mentioned him in the
He's
All
my All NBA.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's in my
yeah,
All NBA too.
but
I think-
do we already have that James Harden fatigue?
But
We've
I-
seen a lot of.
I don't know. I don't know about James Harden fatigue, but because when you talk about guys like LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Paul George, Giannis, he is gonna get overlooked a little bit, right? And plus the fact that those guys that we mentioned, or I just mentioned, belong to teams that everybody considers one of those three is going to win it all. Then the second tier comes, and that's where the Houston Rockets are, and that's when we start, I guess, talking a little bit more about James Harden, and to a certain extent Russell Westbrook. But James Harden today was also fantastic. Like
Right,
he didn't miss in the first half. It looked like he was on fire the entire game.
Right, but I think because of the chances of the Rockets this season, we were I think they'd be second tier, maybe bottom of the second tier teams that might compete. I don't think they would have a chance this year. So definitely that's
Can you imagine if Harden, Westbrook, Durant, and Ibaka stayed in Oklahoma City?
oh my god. And then they made good draftings along the way.
Yeah, Jeff.
You
They
know,
didn't have to make good
Oh my
drafts.
God.
They didn't want to
Sam
trade
Presti.
Sam Presti. That wasn't Sam's fault. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go to the defense of Sam here. He wanted to keep everybody. In fact, he was trying to convince the owner to pay the luxury tax to keep everyone, because he saw it. He drafted those players. So he knew that those guys would be special. But because they didn't want to pay over the luxury tax during that time, they eventually did. That's why they got a little bit in trouble with the contracts. But because they didn't want to pay for the luxury tax, they had to choose one or the other, and they chose between Ibaka and Harden. And they ended up choosing Ibaka because they
But
needed the
Jude, but there has to be a collateral damage among the three of them. There has to be someone that will suffer if that situation happened. I think if there's one person that's gonna that's gonna be affected by it, I think the development of Harden. I think he made the wisest choice ever when he transferred.
That is
Yeah,
true.
no, I'm not saying that it shouldn't have happened and it wasn't inevitable, but I was just saying that, hey, can you imagine if they figured it out to keep those three, right? I mean, because we've had big threes before, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why not build it from within, right? Instead of
Right.
pluck. I mean, if Golden State can have Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant all in one team, right? I mean, figure it out somehow.
Yeah, I agree on that. But I think the development of someone there wouldn't be in the same. I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
I
it,
mean, I agree, but that's the thing, right? I mean, Oklahoma City hasn't gone anywhere since,
yeah.
even with Westbrook there, and But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I guess
It would have been really fun to see that
Oh
all of
yeah,
them together.
it would have been, although, yeah, Westbrook. Do you think Westbrook would have won his MVP with the three of them?
I think the
no,
only one who would have won the MVP between the three of them would have been Durant. He would have
yeah,
been the only
KD.
one.
Durant could have won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not.
But
Yeah.
that's the
So
crazy fantasy side, three MVPs, and then them winning one after the other. That's the craziest, man. And then they
craziest.
didn't win any title within that 3 year span. Oh, that's a disappointment. My God. But
Craziest.
these are crazy things. We should do this more. You guys, you've been so. Did you know that we're over 5 minutes already? 2 hours over 5 minutes, guys.
What? What? Wait, what?
We should do this more often, guys. So now I'm gonna
I
give the. Yeah, go ahead, Jeans. You were
no,
saying
I've been talking with Jude on online for a total of how long now today?
that's 2.6.
We were on Kanina this morning also. So yeah,
Yeah,
Grabe.
I can talk about basketball. We can talk about basketball forever.
My God,
I'm happy the NBA is back. I'm so happy.
everyone is. Now I'm gonna give the floor to Mr. Smart Communication himself. The guy from NBA is smart. Jude Turcuato. Give us your thoughts and invite our people to really stay tuned to Smart and the NBA. I'll give you the floor, Jude.
sure. Big floor. Well, I guess for myself, I'm very grateful and very thankful to be part of PLDT and the Smart and MVP group, who are very aggressive and are very passionate about sports. And a great example is really getting the NBA back on air and online in the Philippines after being out for almost a year. If you recall, this season that we've restarted actually never started in the Philippines as far as broadcast is concerned. So now that it's back, I'm happy on the way it's being delivered. It's being delivered on all these different platforms. It's free to air through TV5 and One Sports, through pay TV with NBA TV Philippines, and even streaming through Smart, both prepaid and postpaid. So people can really experience and see all of these highlights as much as they can, without missing a beat now. So I'm happy, and I spoke to Gino about this morning. The NBA certainly, I think, is doing it the best amongst all of the leagues as far as dealing with restarting a league amidst a pandemic, right?
True.
Creating a bubble, and then a lot of people are asking. In fact, I saw a question in our comments asking na bakit daw ni-resume yung NBA kahit alam na meron pa rin COVID, right? And then Kim, and I do think it's important for certain sports to resume because sport is an inspiration to people, right? And the way the NBA has resumed it is a shining light and an example and a beacon to the rest of the world, not just the sporting world, the rest of the world, as to how we deal with COVID, right? Isolation, physical distancing, testing, washing of hands, all these things is what they're practicing in that bubble now. And guess what? 0 cases. Guess what? They're able to play without having to worry about the pandemic, right? Within this bubble. So if everybody else in the world would live like the way they're living in the bubble, maybe we can get through this even before a vaccine, right? I mean that's a very ideal thing to think and do. But that's why I think it's important for this thing to now restart, and we see it, right? All these other leagues getting cases. The NBA, zero cases because they've been strict and they've really thought it through. Yeah, people had to sacrifice, but yeah, I'm happy that they are able to do this and we're able to showcase it to the Filipino people.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jude, for picking this question, which now becomes our kickstart coffee question of the night. So, Kim Talion Sababan, our production staff, will reach out to you shortly because you just won for yourself this Kickstart coffee. Um, Ground coffee, one of the best coffees, one of the best people that you could ever talk to, Mr. Mike Asuncion, President and CEO of Silka Coffee. So congratulations, Kim. Thank you. Medyo na segue ko lang doon, Jude, because you asked for, medyo talaga kailangan ko ipasok lang. So Kim, again, congratulations. You won for yourself a Kickstart Coffee gift pack. So our production staff will reach out to you. But yes, Jude, I think it's really a nice endeavor that basketball is back, and it's a nice initiative of the group to make it happen. But and also the more interesting part for someone like me who's not into the traditional anymore, but really my work habit really is in this space, digital, that you're trying to create that kind of environment for someone like me to watch the game that we all love the most. So for that, this is something that we look forward to. Very exciting times. Jeans. I need
Mm.
this is something that we do on a weekly basis. We try to give out the time for you to promote something and give out if you have some endeavors like with the Usapang PSL, we try to give time to the players if they have some endeavors like they're selling cookies or trying to do some online selling stuff. So we give the floor to you. You might be doing something there. Go.
Okay. Well, what have I been selling? Oh, I sell these massage guns. Where is it? I have it
Go,
right
go,
here.
go.
I sell
Go.
massage guns online. It's called TheraPro.
Oh, see?
It's funny that I had it right here beside me. I didn't know that this was going to happen. Anyway, I sell these massage guns online, TheraPro, and you can best see it on our Instagram and Facebook page. Aside from that, if you're looking for a new motorcycle, you can log on to motodeal.com.ph because we are a website that talks about and reviews motorcycles, and then we do have partnerships with dealerships. So you can actually go online, research on a motorcycle, and purchase it like that, and then it will be there's some dealerships that will send it to you. So instead of ordering hopya or a massage gun, you get a motorcycle delivered to you. So
See?
it's kind of cool.
Now you have a client because I'm thinking of buying a scooter na eh. Pero
Oh yeah.
sabi ko nga dun sa group chat, I'm in that, the house has become bureaucratic, So I have my first hearing with my wife to justify the purchase, So we'll have our scheduled second hearing so that, we could talk about the health and safety aspect of having a scooter. And then we could have the public discussion already where, we will talk about, if we will go through with the purchase. So now we have to go through that process already. So it has become that. So, but I am an interested client. So see, you
Yeah, yeah.
mentioned that. See, so guys, we went 2 hours and 15 of just talking. Really, honestly, guys, this is the most fun that I had because this is something that I really love talking about. NBA. Sabi ko nga kay Gino kanina, no, Jabbar days, bro. Lakers Jabbar days. So don't tell me about bandwagoning or anything because this is me. The one that resonates to me would be Jabbar 85 against Phoenix Suns because that's the time where I think I got to start watching NBA basketball. So guys, super thank you. So for being with us, but I guess this is an indication that we should do this more often. Maybe from time
Mm.
to time, we could do our NBA thing, so that we could have that. Any people to follow or any social media handles to follow that we need to tell them, Gino?
Well, it's at Jinno Rufino at JINNO RUFINO. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
All right. How about Jude? Anything?
Wala naman. I don't know if you want to follow me, but it's worth. I don't know if it's worth following me, but I do want you to follow the NBA. I do want you to follow the league. I do have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that. I think it's J Turcuato or whatever, but it's not. It's not like noteworthy as Jinno Rufino is.
Not exactly. Mine isn't exactly either, Jude. It's just there.
All right. Guys, again, thank you very much for the time that you spent with 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's a lot. So for future episodes, let's talk offline. By the way, we will be sending you over a gift pack from our partner, the Kickstart Coffee team, for spending time with us. So you get to have the cap.
Nice.
All right. So let's try to do this.
Kickstart. Was it Kickstarter? Kickstart.
There's a shirt. There's also a mug. Everything.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
completo. So thank you very much, Kickstart Coffee, Mr. Mike Asuncion, for trusting us with your brand. So let's move forward with so many good things that we can do. So guys, we do this customary wave before I take you out of the stream. So try to do this, for everyone. Jude, Jeans, thank you very much, guys. There you go. I'm so happy with this discussion. It's so NBA. It's so fan-ish. That we should do this more often. So everyone, guys, let's try to go over the stream's comments. So okay. Roel Castro, should this NBA title come with an asterisk? We talked about it earlier. I think Gino mentioned that, more than an asterisk, I think it's a badge because this is a different time. Sabi niya nga. All right. So what else? Oh, Roel also mentioned. Ay, si Cassandra. Ay, congratulations. Roel, 1969. And Will Chamberlain are the only players who win. Okay. Gotcha, guys. Okay. So, guys, again, thank you very much for spending time with us. We're over by 17 minutes, but I don't mind because this is one of the happiest episodes that I've, done. And I will continue to do this with some of the great minds in Philippine basketball and Philippine sports. And let's try to be safe, everyone. It's around 10:17 in the evening. It's a Saturday, so whatever plans that you have inside your homes, I hope that you guys, be safe. And this is again Benny Benitez saying thank you very much. And next week po, by the way, sorry, kailangan ko nang ipaalala, it's gonna be Usapang PSL. So the guys who missed for 2 weeks ang mga PSL superstars nyo will have the opportunity to be with your superstars. So abangan nyo po kung sino yung team na i-feature natin. So but that's next week. So guys, again, we'd like to thank you for the time that you spent with Benny Benitez, with Bull by the Horn, and we are looking forward to you guys spending time with us, Usapang PSL po, for next week. So this is Benny Benitez saying goodbye, and thank you once again.
When uncertainty is our reality, we rise above with the things that matter. Gigafy happiness. Gigafy love. Gigafy friendship. Gigafy dreams. Gigafy hope. With smart Giga music, video, games, work, and stories, we let our passions run free in the new world we face together. Smart, live Giga.